Kathy Downs,
Here.
Jim Morrison,
Yes.
Mark Eastman,
Here.
and Ed Rankin.
Here.
Presentation of town council recognitions. There were a couple thank yous and stuff in the in your folder. Consider minutes of previous meetings. We have council minutes from 4/23/2020, council minutes from 4/30/2020, council minutes from 5/7/2020, and infrastructure committee from 4/23/20. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Danny and a second from Kathy. Jacob? All those, how can we do this real easy? Just go around the room again?
Yep, I think so. Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Item 5 is receive and review correspondence. Just mentioned that we have one from thank you notes for Northeast Historic Film and from Hospice of Hancock County. Very nice letters for thanking us for programs. Item 6 is ordinances to consider and introduce. We have a second hearing, second reading for the amendment to Appendix B, council rules to require posting to the town website of emails between councilors and the town manager on a weekly basis. We're going to have a public hearing on this tonight, Sue?
No, that's next meeting. The next
meeting.
regular meeting. Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the second reading?
No. None.
Everybody saw how it was written. We're okay with how it was written and understand that it's for anything that is not personnel related. So.
Yes.
All right. And that will be set up for a public hearing for next meeting.
Our next regular meeting, which is
Correct.
week after next, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, 28th, I believe.
Yes.
All right. Item 7 is discussion items. You have pool information update.
I posted to your Google Drive that you can't get to, apparently. Just a
I
little
do have that.
Okay, good. A response from Tom Scarlatta, the pool engineer. What I asked him to do, since the council didn't want to reach out to one, I asked him to reach out to everybody who submitted to find out what the issue was with bidding. He has in this memo identified who he reached out to, who he talked to, and that items related to, for people not in state bidding, related to the difficulty of traveling to Maine and shipping due to COVID-19 and getting to the state or when they could work, and that the bidding started at the height of the pandemic, and there was and still is a great deal of uncertainty related to travel access and availability of material. But he spoke to Mike Solinsky of Mike's Pool Service in Bangor, and Mike is one that had requested copies of the plans, which he indicated he did, but he never looked at them because he was busy with other contracts and didn't have time. So Tom said he discussed with him the scope of the work, and he indicated that he would be interested if it was put out to bid again. And he had indicated he had worked on the pool in the past with Tim Emery, and he said he agreed that the main drain lines were the source of the leak and provided some other insight into the filter media and the pool paint issues. His recommendation is to put the project out to bid again with some minor modifications, including that the ADA railings and stuff would still be accepted even if those couldn't be received right away, because those are out-of-state shipments, and requirement that it be signed within 7 days and drop the $100 liquidated damages issue from it, and that the remainder of the work other than that pool could be sourced out locally and not rely on any out-of-state vendors. to set the schedule at 45 days from the date of mobilization with a tentative end date about July 13th. And he said he could have those adjustments made to the documents and have them available by Tuesday of this coming week if you want to put it back out so that we can try for a second round.
I make a motion that we put it back out.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further conversations?
Yeah, Peter, I have a comment, a question.
Yep.
Is this time, will it be clear this time that, are we looking at all the pipes or is it still a question?
No, this is going to be much more specifically identified in terms of what exactly the thing is, and some of the more concerning level of detail that was being required is going to also be ratcheted down to a more realistic for a project of this size, which is not very big in terms of overall scope. Some of the criteria and et cetera were killing an ant with an elephant, to be honest, and so that some of that will be downsized. But if a local pool contractor will bid and a local contractor will work with them, then that solves the issue of it. And it has been brought to his attention. He did say he would bid, and he has worked on the pool before. So if we put it back out, we may. And the other thing that's happened is more things are opening up in Maine now. So it's a different time than it was 2 months ago.
I would like to see a copy of that, if you could, please.
I sent it to you. I mean, it's on the Google Drive, but I will also email it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
I meant the actual bid that's going to go out. I'd like to see a
Oh,
copy.
yes. I will. When that comes in Tuesday, I will forward that to all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? So we had a motion and a second. Jacob?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin,
Approve.
Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby.
Approve.
Next item was paving bid results.
Well, they weren't as good as I wanted by a long shot. We received 8 bids. 8 bids, ranging from $76.50 a ton to $69.37 a ton. And the $69.37 was from Von Thibodeau III. The original estimates in our bid package were at $70 a ton. So this is lower than that, but it's not lower by $10 or $5. And the explanation is that although gas and diesel are lower, the product used in asphalt is the byproduct of the creation of gas and diesel, and they're not doing that right now because there's a glut of gas and diesel on the market that is not being used because of transportation reductions that have occurred related to this COVID. That said, this is still less than our bid price last year and less than the amount that was estimated for the original project. So it is well within the budgetary limits that were set and is still a better price than if you waited till things went back up.
All right, we'll have a resolve here in a minute so we can have some discussion when we get to that. If everybody's okay with that, we can wait till we get to that. Next item was a Silver Lake Trail idea from Patrick Tuck.
Yes, Patrick submitted an email about an idea for a trail along Silver Lake, and it included some maps, proposals, which after the original packet, I posted those on the website and on your Google Drive as well, so you could see what he was talking about doing. And generally, this would be referred to a committee to discuss. We're not doing committees right now, but it's up there for if the council wants it formally agended for further work, or what you would like me to do with this proposal.
Any recommendations? I'll just say I think it's going to be a longer process, and to be honest with you, even though we've said we can move committee work, I would just soon put this in front of a committee and have folks meet a little bit earlier to discuss this, because I think this could take a little bit of time to look at. So I would suggest that we move it to would it be infrastructure or services? Infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you said that you felt this would be something for next year, not this year, correct? To tie in with the existing work.
Well, if we were going to do work on Silver Lake Road next year as part of the second of year 2 of this road project, and you were going to do something with road edges or do something that accommodated pieces of this trail, that would be the time to do it, when you're doing other work in that same area.
Okay.
And that's what I was thinking. I think we've got time to look at this project, and we can get back together as a committee.
But no, that the idea of the year 2 is the Silver Lake portion, year 3 is the Millvale portion, I think, of that gas pipeline. And so the year that was doing work on the Silver Lake, which is year 2, if there was some way to incorporate some minor or some improvements that allowed for a trail on that side, or at least through a portion of it, that would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
But a committee would have to figure all of that out. But it's the timeline that I was thinking of, if you were going to do anything, is next year. Get the planning done this year for certain, but implementation would be.
Is everybody okay with moving this to a committee once we can get back together, and hopefully the next month or two, and then we can really be able to tackle it this way?
Yes.
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 Anybody opposed to that? Okay.
I just want to say that after I read this, I took a ride around town. We have a great number of our streets that do not have sidewalks on them. I think that would be something to address long before we address another trail. And a lot of things in his proposal, I think there are some serious safety issues in line. I don't know as I would want to walk between 2 railings. If someone hit one of those railings, you have no place to go. I see a lot of other safety issues in it also. It's good. He wants to try to incorporate the other trails to this trail, and just I don't think we're ready for it right now. I think it's something that should be way in the future.
And I think by pushing it forward to a committee and being able to talk about that, I think we can probably come to that a lot easier, and have a chance to have a good conversation about it. So.
Mm-hmm.
So is everybody okay with moving that forward? I see up and downs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Item 8 is agenda items. First one, to approve resolve 2020-49 to approve acceptance of the MDOT municipal grant for retaining wall replacement.
This item was tabled at your last meeting. And it was tabled because Rich was supposed to find out from DOT whether or not they were willing to wait until after a November election if this for acceptance of this grant. And the answer to that is no. So the question is whether or not the council wants to accept a portion of this, which is not the match to the $249,500 that the town would match in order to do the project, likely minus the piece that Rich talked about last time, depending on how actual bids came in. Because the fact of the matter is that this work isn't going away. These walls are not going to fix themselves, and many of them are in areas where they will create further safety issues if they're not addressed. And so the council has the option of saying no and waiting to do a referendum, but it won't relieve you of the responsibility to eventually replace these walls because they're failing. And we can do it with $249,500 of the state's grant money that's in this program, or we can do it entirely on the taxpayers. Those are your options.
So we have a resolve, we have a motion.
Yes, motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to approve from Paul, second from Danny. Any discussion?
We're
Paul?
approving it sorry.
I'll go around the room on this one. Paul?
Approve.
Oh, no.
Oh, and I don't have any questions. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep up. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Any comments or questions or?
Nope.
Kathy?
I'm all set, thanks.
Danny?
Nope.
Jim?
No.
Mark?
No, so we're approving it 249.5, correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Ed?
No concerns.
And I guess my concern got answered, if these have to get done, and I was, again, wanted to make sure that the money was going to be there, and if it's not, knowing that it has to get done, if we put a referendum out, it's going to be for 550, and the project still has to get done anyway, so. All right, anything else, anything further before Jacob goes around the room?
Does that money include the engineer that they talked about had to be present or?
It includes the
Okay.
cost of the entire thing, yes.
All right.
Anything else? Jacob?
Paul Bissonnette? Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin,
Approve.
Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby.
Approve.
The only thing, Mayor Stewart, I might remind is that if I'm not seeing any emails or getting any calls, but we might ask people if they have input. That
My
they
fault.
Remind
Yep.
them that they.
Yep, my fault. Thank you.
No, it's just
If
a
we get anything,
suggestion.
yeah, thank you. Next item for agenda is to approve Resolve 2020-50 to approve the bid award to Von Thibodeau II for the 2020 paving contract with a bid price of $69.37 per ton. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Paul and a second from Danny. I'll go around the room. Ed, any questions?
Just no real concerns. Just I'm curious we do have the contract will protect us if they can't fulfill, or if the tar is of low quality, or.
There's a bond required on this one due to the size of it. Yes.
Okay.
That protects us from that kind of issue.
All right. That was it. Thank you.
Mark?
Nothing. Nope.
Jim?
Nothing.
Danny?
Nope.
Kathy?
All set, thanks.
Paul?
Nope.
All right, Jake?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin,
Approve.
Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby,
Approve. Item C is to approve Resolve 2020-51 to approve the Route 46 winter maintenance agreement. How would the council like to go?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Paul, any comments?
Nothing.
Kathy?
Nothing.
Mark?
Nothing.
Jim?
Nothing.
Danny?
Nope.
Ed?
Nothing.
For those of us out on 46, everybody happy with the what we had this year out here? I'll look at Ed and Jim because I know we travel it more than anybody else. So, and I told Mr. Lamper that we were going to be the first ones to check up on it when it came back up again. So,
Yeah, like I said last meeting, it's not the best of roads to maintain, but I think they did a real good job.
all right, hearing nothing else. Go ahead, Jake.
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin,
Approve.
Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby.
Approve.
Item 9 is resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. I don't believe we have any. Item 10 is approval of quit claims, discharges, and deeds. I don't believe we have any of those. Item 11 is town manager report, department head reports.
The most recent state update for this items that affect municipal government was issued on Wednesday of this week. The update now requires that residents in communities that either offer rapid renewal for vehicle registrations or communities that are open in some fashion to perform those duties now have 30 days to register vehicles that expired during the March and April timeframe, which means that Bucksport residents have until June 13th to get those delayed registrations done for re-registrations, new registrations, all of the stuff that the town office handles. There's also information that would allow communities to move out the dates when they would normally begin the tax lien process for unpaid property taxes. And in order to understand how we were impacted by tax collections, I did an analysis to look at the percentage collected of taxes for 1819 compared to 1920 at the similar time frame. And even though we extended tax due date a month to the end of April, at this time we're within 1 percentage point of collections from last year. And overall, the list of unpaids is very, very similar to the same list of unpaids that we have generally after tax due date every year. We haven't seen a significant increase in uncollected taxes, and I have concerns about moving the lien process out because that would end up in July, which is when our tax bills go out. And tax liens and tax bills going in the same month would be somewhat of a, I see Kathy. Kathy knows what that would be an extremely difficult situation. But again, these are things that the state has decided that you can do if you choose to. Our Pay It Forward program sent out the May business grants on May 7th to 68 businesses. We're up to 72 food cards, and there were 140 meal deliveries last Friday, and then 120 and 130 in the first 2 days this week. We also have another program that's being very successful here in Bucksport, and that's the Bucks program that I stuttered my way through last meeting. Main Street Bucksport is operating this, and they've raised $12,340 in donations, which translates to $24,680 in impact to local economy and businesses. When they started the program, it sold out in 48 hours. And as of May 12th, 37 people and businesses had donated to the program, including a $5,000 donation from Tradewinds and a $1,500 donation from Seaboard Federal Credit Union. 25 local businesses are participating in the program, and people interested in Bucks Bucks can get them by calling 479-3933 on Tuesday and Thursday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there's a $50 per family purchase limit per week. The program will continue as long as sufficient donations are received to operate it, and 100% of donations received are used for Bucks Bucks. So the buy 10, get 20 thing has been seen significant response. And then the third program that's been operating has been Feed Our Friends, which is a GoFundMe page that Connor McLeod from McLeod's Restaurant started to raise money for people to access for use at local restaurants. And these funds are being distributed by Bucksport Community Concerns in conjunction with their local food cupboard work. And thus far, $3,800 has been raised to support that program. So there's been a lot of good work going on in the community. Mary Jane Bush from the Senior Resource Committee and I have had 2 Zoom meetings in the past month with Josie Pelletier, who's the head of the Maine Public Health Nurses. The most recent one was on Wednesday, and their group will be distributing more COVID-19 health-related information to residents of multi-unit apartment and congregate living sites areas within the next week, and they're also now already planning for how they will set up vaccination sites, even though that is sometime in the future, because they want to be ready on day one when one is approved for use to make them available. I'm also in the process of convening a group of local agencies, a sort of Bucksport service network, as a means of handling issues arising during this pandemic related to such items as transportation, food security, medical appointments, etc. I am in hopes that this group can meet remotely every couple of weeks to brainstorm solutions to issues as they arise. The suggestion came from the Senior Resource Committee, and I think it is a good one, and I'm targeting the first meeting date for the last week of this month. The Marina and Town Dock floats will be put in on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, the 18th and 19th. They are going to take up space spread out on the waterfront in the Town Dock area particularly this weekend in preparation for installation on Tuesday, since Monday is not supposed to be a great weather day. And the marina itself plans on opening on June 1st. So my apologies to anyone who's walking the waterfront this weekend. There will be a path through them, but they will be spread out in the lower parking lot area of the Town Dock area. The town office will be opening on Monday, May 18th at 7:30 a.m. 3 customers at a time will be allowed in the town office main area, and others will be asked to respect the social distancing marks that will be outside. In-office assessing, code enforcement, and economic development visits will be able to be made by appointment by calling 469-7368. Signage will be posted on the town office indicating entrance and exit, and contact information for the phone appointment offices. We ask for your patience, and we encourage people who can to utilize our payment over the phone system and the drop box outside the box, which also will still be in operation at that time. With some of the backlog, in particular for new vehicle registrations, we've processed a lot of re-registrations, but there are a lot of new vehicle registrations. I apologize in advance for anyone who has to wait, but the configuration of our office only allows 2 customers to be waited on at a time and maintain appropriate social distancing. So there can be 2 and 1 in the waiting area, and then others will have to come in, and I will have to have a staff member directing traffic, so to speak, in busier times. So that's that plan. I had a conference call with American City and County Organization today about our Pay It Forward program, and they asked if I would agree to do a podcast that they can broadcast to their national membership. They also asked if I would be willing to attend their next group meeting to present Bucksport's story so that other communities facing difficulties could understand what has happened here and what the community has done. That's not planned for right away because of the whole COVID-19, but the podcast would be done sometime in July unless there's objections by the council to me doing that. And that's it.
So I had two questions. One was concerning American Cruise Lines, that email they sent. That's a null and void point, isn't it? Because no cruises are allowed to come in.
I don't believe the state has changed that.
Okay.
At this
So
time.
what are they? Do they not know that, or are they just trying to ask, or what?
That's a good question. I'm not positive the answer. I did not.
Okay.
I have not been in touch with them, and I will check with Rich and Mike to see if they have. But to the best of my knowledge, the cruise piece from the state level is still a no.
Correct. Okay.
The other, I didn't put it in there, but the other thing that Castine has canceled their 4 points participation in this 4-point loop thing. Castine will not be. Can I invite Rich to this meeting? He has an update on the cruise issue.
Yep.
He's sending me messages. Hold on, please.
While we're waiting for him, the only other question I had was, in Luke's report, he said that the state fire marshal's office had taken over the spring fountain. What exactly did that mean?
That means that for purposes of enforcement and that kind of thing, they have taken it over as a.
Okay, so they don't physically.
Enforcement and no, they haven't taken it over.
Okay.
They're handling the violation issues related.
Right. It read like they actually owned the building now, is what I was.
Okay, Rich, I invited you.
Sue, will you also post the link to that podcast too?
Yes, it's going to be a 15-minute podcast that talks about Pay It Forward. The people that I talked to today on the call, one was from Virginia and one was from Washington, but they and one from Maine, said that they thought that it could give other communities across the country ideas on ways that they could help their community. And in the intro, they asked me about Bucksport in general, and when I talked about the closure in the mill and all that, that was when they said, we think that would be a good topic, a good thing for, I said, this is Bucksport, Maine, population 4,924, and they said, doesn't matter. There's communities, they specifically talked about communities in Colorado and Texas and many that are now facing tremendous upheaval because of the loss of oil revenues, and which fund a huge part of their stuff. So anyway, and it also is another way to highlight Bucksport, which I think is a good thing. And here's Mr. Rotella with our cruise update. Your mic is, you're muted, Rich. He's not.
We could only be so lucky.
Click on your, I'll unmute him. Where'd he go? Unmute your microphone, Rich. The red mic button. Click on it.
There we go.
Hello.
Hello. I was told to do it this way, and anyway, so I had a call with Cruise Maine. Cruise ships were going to be revisited for the months of September and October. They, like every other industry in the state, are trying to get a meeting in July with the governor because it's always their busiest month. Trying to get the go-ahead for the month of August. So that's the latest update that I have.
All right, so we'll still follow the guidelines as they're laid out now.
That's correct. American Cruise Line. So right now there's a 50-person limit, as you know, and as of June 1st, excuse me. And American Cruise Line ships have more than that for passengers. So they are working, trying to get a meeting with the governor. And it's not just American Cruise Line; it's all cruise lines in the United States, because those are in Canada. They're not having foreign flags at this point. So we should have an update here shortly. Still attending those calls to keep us in the loop.
Okay. Any questions for Rich while he's here? Thank you, Rich.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Any other questions on department head reports or anything? Next item is public hearings or approvals. We have a Central Maine power permit. Do we need a public hearing on that, Jacob, or is that just a up, down, yes, no vote?
I believe you just need a motion. Council vote on it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments on the Route 46 proposal for the polls?
No.
None.
Nope.
The only question I had, and just looking at where the polls were, how does Central Maine Power operate with the bird's nest? Because I think that's taken, the birds have just put their nest back up, an osprey that was down, and it looks like these poles are replacing the poles that are there. How does Central Maine work with those?
I don't think they can touch them if there's a nest on them that has birds in it.
Okay.
I'll check to make sure, but I know that that's a no-no for.
Okay, because yeah, this is the second nest that they put there, and both the birds are there. They've had a rough time of it here lately. They lost one nest and got the other one. So it looked like these poles were going down through there to replace. So if we're comfortable that there are rules in place that they don't disturb those, then that was my only question.
Well, you can approve it conditional that they don't destroy the nests, and I can let them know that kind of thing,
Yeah.
that they may have to wait until a later time if you want me to, but I will contact them about that issue if you want, to make sure that we don't displace that poor family again.
Do we need to modify that motion then, Sue?
Yeah.
We'll modify the motion to not interrupt the bird's nest?
Well, if the bird's nest is involved in these replacements, that they time their work for the time when it's not going to impact the nest. I think they have to do that anyway, but I'm not positive.
Should we just get actual what they have to go by before we put this up for a motion? Yeah, because I think they're pretty well regulated by the state, and I mean, I think they do this thing all the time. But
Do they have a projected start date?
Yeah, they did on the permit was April 30th they're basically looking for April 30th through May 30th.
Do we think we can get that information before that time?
Well, April 30th is gone, but I can get it certainly by next Thursday, if you want to just wait on
Great.
it until then.
Great. I move we table it.
Second.
So we all set on tabling this till next Thursday through our, it make me feel better knowing that if we just had the answer.
Well, I'll find out the answer and get it to you ASAP, and we'll know it
Thanks.
by next Thursday. We'll add it to the budget meeting agenda. Okay? Is everyone
Thank
all right
you.
with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'll check, Sue. Are there any discussion items anybody's called in on for us or emailed?
I have 0 emails and no phone calls.
Okay.
So, but I thought I had invited Sean, but wait just a minute. Let me.
Anything, anybody on the council have anything that's not on the agenda? I don't see anybody raising their hand or jumping up, so. Committee assignments or upcoming public hearings, the only thing we have is a public hearing next week, on the 28th rather, for the final reading. And then we decided to table the Silver Lake thing to a committee meeting, so. And now we are on item 15, budget review. So we get the director and deputy chiefs here, or so you can lead it off.
I have sent them an invite, and I just sent a message that I'd sent an invite, and there they are.
Chief, you there?
Chief, you're muted. Oh, there he goes. Now he's not. I can't hear you.
So what we've done in the past is allowed the budget manager to sort of give an overview, sort of a snapshot of what he's got for a budget or she's got for a budget, and then the council can ask questions as we go along. Is everybody okay with doing that? And is Chief there, is he?
He's trying to make it so we can hear him.
How's that?
Okay, that's better.
There we go. I'm gonna turn you over to Chrissy. We gotta get one more thing set up for you real quick. Where's the share button?
So go to present now. Go to a window. And then up in the screen, down. Should work now.
Okay, I think we're all set.
All right, Chief, you want to go over your, I think the first one on the agenda was the police budget.
Yes, I will. First of all, I just want to let everyone know that in the room with me is Captain Chris Bronner. He's our IT guy for tonight and helped out with the budget, and he's going to help do our IT work on the TV here. Deputy Chief David Winchester of the Bucksville Police Department is with me, and Deputy Chief Michael Denning from the Bucksville Fire and Ambulance is also in the room with me if you have any questions for anybody. Can you see the screen all right?
I think we all have a copy of it also, Chief, so, yep.
Very good. in front of you right now is the police budget. And this is the entire police budget. If you look at the left-hand side, the account number on this is 512. The numbers that we go by in this budget are, you'll see on the left, are 01 through actually 91 because we don't have a DARE account in there anymore. So if I reference anything about the 01 account or 02 account, at least you'll know which line that I'm talking about. The police budget this year, the proposed police budget includes the restructure of the public safety department that was done starting November 4th, actually. Includes step raises, union contract obligations, wage adjustments, and an addition of a new patrol person. You'll see in the 05 account, there's a small decrease in the investigation salary. I met with Deputy Chief Winchester on that. We looked at it over the years. With the restructure and the addition, proposed addition, I should say, of a new patrol person, we did trim that a little bit due to what we spent over the years. Next, you'll see in the 06 account, that's the animal control account. I explain this every year that our animal control officer also works full-time in the dispatch center. Under the Fair Labor Standards Act, we pay that position out of minimum wage, and as everyone knows, minimum wage has gone up. So that's the increase that you actually see in that line of the 9.09% is due to the increase in minimum wage. Any other increases are due to the restructure. As I said, that we started on November 4th, and the addition of, or proposed addition of a new patrol position. Just briefly, the new proposed patrol position is something that we've been looking at for approximately 5 years or so. Right now, we actually operate a schedule that is not a full-time schedule. We have part-time people that fill in the gaps because with the number of people that we have and the positions we have, we can't fill some of the Monday shifts. So that proposed position would actually take care of the Mondays, which is a budgeted item in our budget. So that would take care of that. Right now, we don't have double coverage on the days on the weekends. We did with Deputy Chief Winchester when he was a sergeant, worked that for a number of years to fill in on that. That actually reduces call-ins and overtime, and it's a major safety issue actually for the officers working on whatever call they go to, domestics, drug calls, things of that nature, that they really have to go to, but we're always better off to have two rather than one. So in a nutshell, what you can see in front of you, if you have any questions on any of those lines, feel free to ask them and I can answer them for you. As you can see, the lines, I believe it is 23 through 91 are all proposed $0, no increase. The only increases to this proposed budget, as you can see, the 01, the 02 line, and the 04 and the 22 line, which are actually all have to do with patrol personnel and the restructure, step raises and union contract obligations and wage adjustments.
Anybody have any questions?
I have one.
Peter, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dad.
Where I'm fairly new to this, well, I am very new to this, so where is the part-time pay on this? Is that the would? Because I see the reserve salary is $0, so are they not called reserve anymore? Where's
I'll bring the actual budget up for you, Ed. We'll slide that here. And that is actually under, you go to, let me search it out here real quick. Contract hours, under the 01 line at the bottom, it says contract hours, $17 an hour, 4-hour shift at 52 weeks for $3,536.
Okay.
That's where that's covered.
All right. Thank you.
And just another thing on that, is that we try to fill that with a part-time person. And we've been fortunate to have people that can work that consistently. When we can't, full-time patrol, which there's no issue with it, has to work that shift, and that's at time and a half. So you just need to keep that in mind also. We've been fortunate to fill it, but we don't always fill that at that rate of pay. Sometimes it is at time and a half. So.
Yep, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. The training payroll, as I was going through it, I noticed that it's the budget's going up, and then, but you're generally only using about half of it, or somewhere around there. Does that have to do with the reserve as well, or the new position?
Actually, can you go to that line, Chris, please?
Line 4.
So I can see it. No. What happens with that is that from year to year, we have so many regular hours that we need to keep our certification. And those hours, normally we do those in-house. And it's a good question because this comes up every year. And I actually did not add the extra patrol person into that, just due to every year that is not totally spent. This year we were working towards a lot more training, and we had a lot more training actually set up, but when the COVID-19 hit, that put a damper into this. So I met with Deputy Chief Winchester today on this particular line to talk about training, and if we'd been able to go through the year this year, I believe a lot more of that would have been spent. I don't believe all of it would have been spent, but I believe you would have seen more of a decrease in that line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr.
I
Mayor?
have a question.
Oh, good.
Under holidays, staff meetings, and sick time, can you explain those 3 items to me, please?
I can. Under the holidays, as you see, under union contract with the police, we have 11 holidays that are scheduled in there. This is all done, you see the numbers on the left by each person. There's a typo under Bishop, because that shouldn't be 0. The average is $34 an hour for all of these patrol guys for the holidays. It's not done on an actual basis of what they make. We've always done it on an average. And in the contract, there's 11 holidays that they are paid for under union contract. Staff meetings are also a union obligation to have at least two of those a year, but we're proposing to have at least one every other month now. Sick time is a thing that comes under the town itself. You get so many hours for so many years that you've worked for the town, and there's different allocations for the number of years you worked as to how much sick leave that you get. So that's done on an average also.
So on a sick time, when they have a sick day, they're paid at $34, $38 per hour for a 10-hour day?
No, they're paid at their regular rate, but the average of overtime to fill that shift would be an average of $34 if we fill that shift. And the other thing on that, just to bring up, is that, go back to that if you would, Chris. The other thing on that is that if somebody doesn't work the holiday, they still get 8 hours of holiday pay, whether they work it or not. If they work the holiday, they get 8 hours of pay plus time and a half for the holiday work, which really comes out to double time and a half on a holiday if you work.
Chief, on the fuel for the vehicles, I think your price is a little high.
Yeah, that, Peter, that's one that I really don't have anything, that's set by the town. And I'm not sure, you'd have to ask the town manager if that's been set yet. Because normally what happens is when you get the bid price, she'll plug that in later on, so that number itself is nothing that I really, she sets that once she gets the rack price, I believe.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, one question. And it really is, it can be, it's probably for anybody. I just want to make sure that, what's the status, or what is the Chamber Festival? There are hours built in there. What is the status of the festivals that are occurring this year?
That's a good question, because I do not believe that the Bay Festival is happening to the best of my.
So I wanted to make sure I was remembering that correctly.
That's actually money that could be taken out of there for this year with the income that we're going to put it back in next year if they have the festival. So depending on tall ships, and that's depending on the tall ship thing too. That year will still be happening. So it could, we didn't budget for the tall ship, but it's certainly something that could be looked at to be taken out of that budget if need be.
Probably just something to highlight for now, but I wanted to make sure I was remembering that correctly. I was doubting myself. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions here? Ed, question?
Yeah, just a quick one. Is there any equipment or safety gear or anything like that that you foresee needing that you don't have this year, Sean? Chief, sorry.
No, that's all right. There is not. We order the equipment we need out of the small equipment account normally. Any other things like this year, I believe that we were designated to get a taser that we've already got, but we got that through a grant. We do try to get grants to get anything that is non-budgeted, but there's nothing, just a CIP item of a cruiser, which is a yearly event. That's about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else on this part here? All right. Next item was fire and EMS.
Give us just a second to bring that up, if you would. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the fire EMS budget, as you can see, normally we'd have two budgets, one for fire and one for EMS ambulance. That budget has been combined this year. There's something that has been talked about, obviously before my time, but it had been talked about for a while, and that has now been done. I want to just start by thanking the people that actually had a hand in this, because it was more than just myself and Deputy Chief Denning, I can tell you that. So thank you ahead of time to the people who helped with that. The two budgets themselves have been combined. If you could scroll down just a little, Chris, I want to see if you can see, because it would help explain a lot. Yeah, the shaded. I'm looking for shaded. Shaded area. Yeah, that you can see it. If you see on the screen right now, under the shaded area, any of those shaded areas that you see on this budget is it's a copy of the EMS budget, which has been combined over with the fire budget with some small increases as needed, but nothing major, no major increases to speak of. So if you see those shaded areas, that's things that have been combined and added from the EMS budget to the fire budget to have one budget for that side of the building. A majority, if we can go back to that first page, Chris, a majority of these lines, as you can see, the increases look fairly large. This is really due to the combining of these budgets. union contract obligations, pay steps, things of that nature in the contract that happen every year. The combining of the two budgets and some small increases in individual lines due to the restructure and expectations that have been put forth on that side of the building. Along with a few small decreases that you can see in there also. If you look at the bottom line of this budget, at the bottom, I realize there's some big numbers on the right. If you look at the bottom and combining these two budgets together, with a few trims here and there, the total proposed budget for fire and EMS ambulance is 4.07% for both budgets. So I just ask you keep in mind that it is two budgets that you're looking at. They are not, it's one budget combined by two. So it's two budgets really you're looking at in one document.
Questions?
I'm going to go straight to the heavy hitter, Chief. The extra and overtime, is that due to the combining of the two?
The O2 line. Yes.
I'm sorry, the O2 line. Yeah, it's a 30% or a 31% increase.
Well, actually, that's a great question because we discussed this last year too. As you can see in that O2 line, we had taken the compensated hours that they get with a 53-hour work week. We'd actually taken that out of the O1 line and put it into the overtime line where it should have been, and that's a total of $24,926.40. So that has to do with the compensation time added to that line for that big increase.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was me last year trying to figure that out, so I can appreciate you trying to get us straightened around on that. The one thing I will say, and both the police and the fire extra and overtime budget, I realize there are things that pop up, but if we can keep an eye on those, because those are both fairly large increases across the board. So I guess I'll put it on you, Chief, that if we can do the best we can to try to monitor those going forward, just so we can see what it looks like, because those two numbers do stand out.
Yeah, and we can certainly do that. And I can tell you up front that when you have double coverage on a shift, at least on the police side, now I have two sides of the building, remind you, that operate in two different fashions, of course, but on the police side, I know that if you have two people on a shift and one comes open and you don't fill it, unfortunately, safety-wise, it's not good, but if you don't fill it, you don't fill it, and we don't pay the overtime for that shift. And we do that quite a bit. Having said that, normally speaking, in the day and age we're in and what we've been doing, to be honest with you, is that someone ends up getting called in for double 2-officer calls, domestics or drug calls, things of that nature. But we do our best at that, and we'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah, especially if we're adding personnel. Hopefully we can get to a point where we can have coverage with the folks that we have, but we just keep an eye on it.
Will do. Got that? Good.
Anybody else have any questions?
A quick one. On line 93, the collection costs. How successful usually are we with collections? I guess, and I'll tell you the point of the question is, are we throwing good money after bad? I know there's a principle behind it, but I'm curious.
Bear with me here just for a minute.
Sure. It's line 93, if that helps.
Sue, can you help with that as far as, I don't get into collection much, to be honest with you. I haven't yet anyway, but you're muted, Sue.
Sue appears to be having a technical difficulty.
I mean, when somebody just texted, I think she knows. Jim Morrow should be right there.
We can't. Right.
in the interest of time, I will ask that question of the town manager at a later time. It's not anything to hold up this over. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions on the fire side? Hearing none. The next item that we're talking about is dispatch, Chief.
Yes, and looking at the dispatch, if you could bring it up, Chris, on the front page, please.
Why wouldn't it do it there?
Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Hi.
I couldn't get unmuted. I had to have technical assistance come in. The collection costs are fairly minimal, and our overall success rate isn't huge. I haven't analyzed overall the impact to our bottom line. We end up annually, as you're aware, writing off a percentage of uncollectibles that, according to our auditor, once you get up past a certain, we do that on an annual basis, but the collection amounts aren't, as I said, it brings in some, and more than we would have had, and the cost is not huge for the. It does tend to make people angry, but
Nope.
Anyway, that's the answer to that question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, under dispatch, as you'll see, the increases in this dispatch budget are really due to wage adjustments and union contract obligations in the contract. If you go down through it, there's not a lot of lines, as you can see in this budget. It has to do with the 01 and the 02 line, which are regular payroll and full-time extra overtime line. There's a few small increases down through, and under line number 50, thank you. 51, you're going to see a large decrease there. We've taken a few items out of the dispatch budget, but you're going to see those when we do the next budget for the public safety building. We've done that with a lot of items such as telephone and computer contracts and things of that nature, that we were billing each other in the same building for the same purposes, for the same programs, which it's really building logs. That's $6,000. You will see that a little bit more in the public safety building budget. So overall, what you see is the increases due to the contract wage adjustments and labor agreement.
Anybody have any questions on the dispatch piece? Hearing none. Next piece is public safety. I believe this is a new piece.
It is. This is a completely new budget. It really takes me out of both budgets. This is part of the restructure, adding the public safety director and adding the chaplain to the public safety director's budget. The budget actually shows a decrease overall, but up front, that decrease is obviously absorbed in the restructure of both sides of the building with the restructure that we've done there. So any decrease that you might add up or see in that budget is absorbed in all the other budgets, basically, you speak of. So.
Any questions on this budget?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one.
Yep.
Under it's all 01, but under the chaplain line, where it breaks down 165 hours at $12 an hour. Can you just outline the duties of the chaplain in terms of what those 165 hours might entail?
I can. Our chaplain, which you're fully aware, we just swore in when we restructured, works on both sides of the building for all departments in the building in a time of need. So he's basically on call 24/7. We really hope not to use him, because when we do use him, it's usually in times that aren't so good. Without getting into it, I can tell you with the COVID-19 issue, we have used him with a few employees that needed a little bit of help, and that's what he's really there for. That was just an average number of hours, Paul, on a first budget to see, and I'll review that again next year to see how much we're really using him, because at this point, I really don't know.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Final item is the public safety building.
Building on there, David. See it. All right, just go back to them. They have it. I don't have that one to put up in front of you, but I'm told you have it in front of you. So the public safety building itself, it includes the entire building. The budget increase is due to, as you can see in the 01 line under custodian, that's a cleaning service contract that is done through the town. And the other is adding other items to the building that belong in the building, such as what I just talked about, the Spillman contracts, all other phones. We got so many lines in the building and so many phones, and for years, we actually divided that out by department, and each department paid for a phone or two, and we put that into the public safety building because we're all one building. We're really all one public safety department now, and there's no telling who uses the phones more than the next. So, so that's really the increases you see of under the 32 line and the 61 line is basically phones and a contract that the 32 line was actually the one I just went over with you and brought forward out of the other one, and that's the Spillman contract for our computer system, operating system, complaint system that we run out of dispatch for all departments in the building.
Any questions?
We do see a few decreases in there, I believe. And this was actually done by the town manager by calculations for heating and what we're paying for natural gas every year and stuff. So there's a $3,000 savings there, which is actually nice to see.
Chief, I see telephone costs in both the police budget and the fire budget, plus telephone costs here. What's the
Right.
difference?
The difference is the hardwired lines in the building itself are one, and then we have cell phone services and hotspots and ambulances and cruisers that are covered under each one of those budgets. So cell phones versus hardwired phones in the building.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I see there was no decrease in the electric this year. Does that mean that the new system out on town garage isn't helping, or does it mean that that's part of it, or how's that?
The electric, the solar array on the town garage reduces the amount of electricity that's purchased from Central Maine Power. But according to our purchase power agreement, the town pays a per kilowatt hour for the solar to Revision Energy, and this is a declining amount over the first 6 years of this contract. And after that, at the 6th year, the town can buy it out for minimal cost, and the total the electricity that's generated by it will cover the total cost. But in this 6-year period, which started a year and a half ago, I guess, there's a declining amount per that it is charged, which is 12.5 cents a kilowatt hour for everything. So it's slightly less than the total of the CMP, but not enough to materially change that budget for the first really 6 years of this program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the public safety piece?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Chief, you don't see the building itself is in pretty good shape. You don't foresee this year or next year any major concerns?
That's in the capital budget when we talk about that, and there is flooring is listed, and the chairs were done in last year. So I believe that there will be a couple of other items. They did paving on the outside apron. They did the roof repairs to it. There's Deputy Chief Denning, are there more items identified for that? I believe there are. But
Yeah,
those will be under capital budget, and we budgeted money into that to do those.
But Ed, as far as your question goes, the paving, when they did the paving, they're coming back sooner than later to do the back alleyway because they need to dig that out. We actually got a contract with them when they were here for $2,100, and that was budgeted as a tarring process anyway, so they're coming back to do that. We actually had chairs to replace the chairs. We've done that this year, but we're not going to get to flooring in the vestibule, lobby, and the dispatch. That's going to need to be carried over. Other than that, let me check with both of these guys to see if I think that was it for the coming year.
So the building and maintenance and repair in this budget would be like your elevators, things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question. Thank you.
Elevators are the most expensive things we own.
Yeah.
We pay huge amounts for contracts to do them and phones in them, and yeah.
Any other questions for the chief on any of his budgets? Hearing none or seeing none, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you. So we're gonna hang up on in a minute. And then last, right there. Yep.
All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Section 405, subsection 6A, for discussion or consideration of the employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, or dismissal of an individual, to wit, our town manager.
Can we
So moved.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second. Around the room, please, Jake.
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Ed Rankin, Ed, you there?
He's muted.
Oh.
There.
Approve.
Jim Morrison,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Mark Eastman.
Approve.
At this time, we'll go into executive session. We may have action coming when we come out of executive session, but how do we notify the public of that, Sue?
Well, we have two options here, which is they can turn off volume and put something else on the screen. I'm a little nervous about
So here's my suggestion, is that we will take no action, and then
Exactly.
if we do have any action, we will take it up at our next meeting next week.
Okay.
So instead of having any proposals unless we have to, but for the most part, we will take any action on your position next week. How's that?
I think that would be cleaner to just
Yeah.
announce to the public that this is the end of the public portion of the meeting, and that way our IT people can close that down and go home as
Yep.
well.
That's what we'll do. So we will take no action other than adjournment when we come out of this executive session. With that said, Jim, you can go ahead and thank you very much for everybody.